live without you, 'cause I don't wanna live a life without you.
Oh! In this video, I'm going to show you how to make festival-ready bangers like Martin Garrix and Third Party. We're going to go through everything from the kick and the drums, the chord progression and melodies, synth design, vocals, and some stuff that I've never shown before. As usual, you can download this project file, all the samples and presets completely free below this video. But as you watch, try and make a note of what you think those 5 secrets are, and at the end, we're going to go through all of them together. I want to say a massive shout out to our Accelerator students who have been supported by some of the world's biggest DJs and artists this year, and have played at festivals which this music is perfect for. You can check the details out below, and without further ado, let's hop into the door and get it done. Okay, let's kick things off. No edits, no cuts, we're going to get straight to it. First, I'm going to set it to 127 BPM. And the vibe of this kind of music is going to be hands in the air, fist pumping, really emotional chords and melodies. So we're going to have to nail that stuff down really quickly. But first we need to get a kick in there. So that's going to help us program everything around in terms of rhythm. So the first thing I'm going to do is use one of the kicks from the EDM Tips Creative Toolkit, which is going to throw that in there. Not Will Kick 3 today for a change. And then I'm just going to program that on every beat. Now, it doesn't matter whether you use audio or whether you use MIDI, just get it in there, and we want it to be peaking at -12. And this is so we don't end up with a big clipping mix where everything's distorted, because there's a couple of mistakes people make in this genre, and we're going to touch upon those soon because you have to avoid them, otherwise it's going to mess everything up. Okay, next on the magic list is the chords. The chord progression is essential. So what we're going to do is just work these chords out with a grand piano, and then we can use different notes on different instruments a bit later on in the process. So most dance music is just going to have 3 or 4 chords in a progression that's going to repeat through the whole track, apart from when it comes to arrangement. Again, we're going to get to that soon. So I'm going to not even bother coloring this because I'm not going to be using it for long. I'm going to be splitting them out to different tracks. So we need to choose a key to work in. So I'm just going to choose C minor. Let's just choose C minor. And then when you hit the scale mode, boom, it hides all of the notes that aren't in the scale that you're working in. So it makes it really hard to hit a wrong note. So let's just start on the A. The main notes we're going to hit are going to be the A. And then I think we'll go up to the C, which is the root note of the track because it's C minor. And then we'll go back to the A. And then we'll go down to the F. So I'm just working out the root note of each chord first, because then we can build the chords up with a technique I'm going to show you in a couple of minutes. So we need to get something a bit more rhythmic to work with that bass though, to work with the kick, sorry. So I'm going to just use eighths on the grid and have it lead up to that next chord change. So having it go up and then down is going to give us a nice little moment. And then it's going to loop back to the beginning of that progression. Now let's build out the chords over and above that. Let's speed things up. So all you need to do in scale mode is basically skip a note each time, and that's going to give you the 3rd and the 5th, which is going to be your standard triad. Like so. Editor, oh, I'm the editor today. No editing, so I just have to do it quickly. Now this chord here is absolutely amazing, and so is that one. You just might not know it yet. So I'm just skipping a note each time so they look like little hamburgers, but not as tasty as a real hamburger. Right, check it out. See, it's got rhythm to it because they're changing. So this is going to work really well with a melody, and we're going to write the melody just within this grand piano as well. We'll do all of this together in one instrument, because if it works just with one simple instrument that you can sing along to, that's going to be absolutely key when it comes to this style of music. But first, let's name this bad boy. Okay, progressive house. What are we going to call it? Garrix Third Party. We're going to call it Garrix in the Party House. I know it's a bit lame, but it's already done. So what are you going to do? Right, let's work out this melody. Now, to work out a melody, if you get the rhythm down first on just the root note, that can make it way easier. You only have to focus on the rhythm rather than the pitch, and then we'll work on the pitch after that. So let's make it really simple so people can put their hands up and go da, 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 like that. In fact, that's a good rhythm, so let's do that. Da, da, da. Right, that's the rhythm, and I'm just going to repeat it. Repetition of rhythm and repetition of pitch is going to be really important to make a memorable melody. So that's the rhythm of the melody. And you can switch it up at the end, of course. So maybe we'll just lose those notes. And now let's start changing the pitch of these notes as well. And if you're working with notes close to each other, going up or down, that's called stepwise. And when you have a big jump in pitch, that's called leapwise. Both are important. Bum, bum, ba, ba. So now I'm trying to repeat the shape of the pitch as well. So rather than just jumping all over the place, I want something that is repeating in both the rhythm and the pitch, and the shape of the pitch moves. I might fast forward this bit. So that's a leapwise bit there. A whole octave, see? And we just want to get that feeling where we naturally can easily sing along to it. So I'm just going to fast forward this bit as I tweak it a bit, and then we're going to continue. Okay, cool. So we've got something that tells a story. We go up and then we go down to loop round to the beginning of the melody. Now it's worth spending all of your time really on this part of the process when it comes to this kind of music, because getting something that's actually moving and emotional just with the notes you're hitting is super important. But what I'm going to do is show you one extra thing before we get into the sound design to make these chords even more interesting. I'm just going to count up another skipping of a note to create a seventh chord, and we can add extra emotion. So where do you get that strange relationship there? That's diminished, and just move the top note of a diminished chord up to the next scale position. It's going to sort it right out, right out. So now we've got this. Boom! Okay, on to the next thing in the magic list. Now we've already created all of the stuff that we need in terms of music theory. So now we just need to assign it to different instruments. So for the bass, I'm going to use Serum for this. I know some of you will say, oh, don't use Serum, use stock plugins. But really for this kind of music, there are so many layers that we're going to go into. Having presets that you can scroll through is how you produce quickly. You don't want to produce everything from scratch, every single sound, otherwise you'll lose the flow. And really we're like chefs when it comes to music production. We want to bring ingredients together and get it sounding good. Loads of great sound packs out there from people who spend all their time doing it and they're really good at it. So use their skill to help you. Right, what we're going to do for the bass is create something completely from scratch, despite what I just said. So what we're going to do is just copy the bass notes from our chords, like so. Just the lowest note of each chord, like so, boom. Going to stick it into the bass instrument, like so. And the bass notes are probably going to be down in this octave here. Let's just have a listen. It's going to sound really loud. I'm going to take up the high frequencies with a low pass filter because it's a saw wave. And it's going to sound something like this. Already amazing! Except I want that note to go down an octave instead. That's going to be even more emotional. Cool. Okay, so we've got our bass line. That's really all we need. Although we're now going to have to duck it out the way of the kick, and the kick's going to have some extra layers added to it in a couple of minutes, which we're going to get to. So first thing I'm going to do is set the level of my bass to be averaging the sub bass, so everything under 100 hertz or so, at about minus 20 decibels, which it already is. So I've already done it right. Awesome. So all we need to do now is add a sidechain compressor to it, which is going to duck it against the kick. You can use Shaper Box or Kickstart or LFO Tool, but I'm going to do it just with the Ableton stock plugins as much as I can, apart from Serum. So this is how I do it. Add a compressor, open up this little fellow here, choose an external input. I'm using a sidechain trigger track, which is just a short, sharp rim shot tick that you can't hear because I've got it set to sends only. I like to do that more than doing it from the kick, because the kick is always going to duck it for quite a long period. This gives us a lot more control over setting the length of that ducking effect just with the compressor. So let's 100% attack, or rather really quick attack, and let's have a look at what's happening. So that's going to allow the kick to cut through that bass. And if you don't like the clicking, you can just add an EQ after it, especially if you're filtering out the high end anyway. Because this is just our sub bass. Actually, I'm not going to do that because I want to show you something I haven't shown before on this channel, which is how to make this bass super wide and low end without it causing phase issues, but we're going to get to that in a minute. Next thing on the magic list is the melody. So this is the most important part, I would say, of the whole thing. We're going to have layers for this, because when it comes to adding these big stacks that you get in this kind of progressive house, you need to, yes, layer up several different sounds, but it has to be done carefully and intentionally, because what most people do when they'll produce this style of music and they're starting out, they'll just layer saw wave upon saw wave upon saw wave, add loads of unison, loads of extra voices, and then just make it all really loud. But actually, the mixes of this are no louder than any other kind of music. It just sounds loud because of the way it's composed. So just pushing everything to be really loud and just stacking layer upon layer upon layer is actually going to make it quieter in the long run, because we need that headroom to get a really loud master. So first thing I'm going to do is just simply copy this across. I'm going to call it melody. I'm going to delete everything that's not the melody. Boom. And there we're ready to start working. So what I'm going to do is choose the first layer, just a nice saw wave, because that's going to really give the cutting energy. Again, you don't need to use Serum. You could do this in any synth. It's going to be super simple, and it's going to sound something like this. Okay, that's too loud and too high. So I'm just going to drop that down an octave or two. I'm vibing to that already. So let's just make it a bit bigger, and the way I'm going to do that is just layer up another synth. I'm going to take the randomize down so it's always triggering in exactly the same place, and I'm going to load up a different waveform just to make it a bit more interesting. That gives it some nice yeah, I like that. Next, I'm going to duplicate that. We're going to choose a layer that's got more width now. So I'm intentionally choosing each layer and how it's going to sound. So this one is going to be a much more of a detuned saw sound. So let's take it down an octave. So each layer has a specific role. So together, we've got this. In fact, for this one, I actually want it to be a bit more of a plucky sound. So I'm going to take the sustain down a bit. So I want to be a bit more plucky, and I might push this one out. Add some noise. So now we've got that high end sound. And for the last layer, same notes, exact same notes, except for this one, we're going to add a little bit of portamento in there as well, which is when the notes sweep between each other, which is just going to make it a little bit more nuanced and a little bit more interesting. I'm going to go for a really like grungy sound. Going to add some detune and detune it quite a lot. And now I'm going to add some legato. I was actually going to hunt through some presets, but I'm inadvertently showing you some sound design anyway. And the last thing I'm going to do, which is really cool on this sound before we get on to adding the guitar, I know guitar, and the vocals and the arrangement, is add some texture to this sound. So I'm going to add an LFO to the level of that oscillator. And what this is going to do is make it go up and down in volume really quickly. Which is just going to make it sound more textured. Okay, so you're thinking, okay, well that sounds a bit weak at the moment. Yes, it does, and this is why, because we haven't done any processing to any of these sounds yet. So what we're going to do is group them all together, and this is going to be our melody group, like so. And then I've added a whole reverb on an auxiliary channel, which means that I can send out this whole group to that reverb and make it sound epic. Ready? Whoops. And now you can start hearing how we're going to get that sound. So last thing I'm going to do on this is take out the low end under 100 Hertz because we don't want it fighting with our kick and bass. Maybe 120 Hertz. And then I'm going to add a sidechain compressor to make it bounce as well, like so. Just a quick one. If you're enjoying this video and you enjoy my other videos, please do subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out. Thank you. Ableton crashed. Thanks, Ableton. So I've had to remake that melody from scratch, and instead of creating all of the sounds from scratch for the layers, I actually use some of our accelerator presets that we create each week when students ask us, how can you make a sound like that? We recreate them on the live group call, walk through how it's done, and then give those presets away. So let's just have a quick look. This is the pluck layer, if you remember. Pretty much the same as what I just did. I've just got this envelope also assigned to a wavetable position on this third oscillator, which just gives it an extra jangly feel. And then the second one, I've added an EQ boost to give it more sizzle. Sounds like this. Again, that's one of our accelerator presets. And then for the third layer, which is the portamento layer, similar to how it was. Cool, so that is our melody. Next thing we need to do, boom, is color that, the natural color of synths, which is cyan. And then we get onto the drums. Now this is the important part for bringing that extra energy. Now, with the drums in this kind of music, they're usually really stripped back, and that's to allow more space for this little melody and the other synth sounds to really be loud in the mix. So we don't want to overcomplicate the drums with loads of top loops and stuff like this. But something that is going to be really important is a clap hitting on every kick. So instead of going kick, clap, this is like clap on every kick. And this gives you that fist pumping feel. So let's find a clap. I think I'll just open up Splice. Let's use Splice a bit as well. I'm going to go sounds. Let's see what kind of claps we've got going on. Any in my... Yeah, that's a really nice, crisp, clean one. Let's use that. So I'm going to drag that into... Again, it doesn't matter if you use audio or MIDI. I'm just going to do this within the drum rack. And let's just program that in on every position of the kick, which is on every beat basically. And it's going to sound something like this. Just turn it down a little bit. And what I'm also going to do is add a little bit of room reverb to this as well. And the way I've done that is create another auxiliary channel like so. And if this is me working fast, it's because there's a lot to learn in music production. You could just rewatch this bit if it's too fast for you. So I've created another auxiliary channel. I've put a reverb with a short decay of under half a second. I've taken out the low end. We don't ever want reverb with anything under 100 Hertz really. It's just going to muddy up your low end, or 120 Hertz. And then I've created the drum rack, open up the routing here like so, right click, create return chain, select your room reverb from the drop down, boom, Robert's your father's brother. Then you can close that down and you've got this to control each separate reverb amount for each separate drum. So let's add some to that clap. Nice. Finished, drums are done. Now we're going to add a little bit of a hi-hat, and it's just going to be a closed hat. Let's go closed hat, closed hat. Well, it would help if I looked in the closed hat. That'll do. So I'm just going to put that on the 60. No, I'll put it in the open hat position, even though it's not an open hat, because that's just going to be in every other, in between each kick, basically. But what we're also going to do with this is have it so it's not playing at the same volume each time. So I'll add a little bit of variation on the velocity, like so. And it's just going to add that slight bit of movement and interest. Like so. And I'm just gonna, I'm not even gonna have it on that last one. In fact, it's just gonna play through 3 times. And pan it. But this kick, there's some work we need to do on that, so I'm really gonna show some EQing on the kick. I wouldn't usually EQ a kick, I like to get it as close as possible. But I want this to be a really bassy kick with just like a top tick. I don't really want all that mid knock. I think I'll add another one. Again, I'm trying to make space in the mix. And you have to be careful with this, of course, because you can get it sounding weird. But it has to work in context. Okay, cool. On to the next thing on the magic list, which is the distorto bass. But we might get to that after we do the guitar. In fact, we'll do that. We'll do the guitar first, because the guitar is going to be very important when it comes to the arrangement. And all I'm going to do with this guitar is create something that is going to introduce the key of the track at the beginning of it. And there are some other sounds that we can do for that as well. But introducing the key of a track is just going to make people know before any of the big synths start happening, oh, okay, I know what this, I know where the home of this track is, which you subconsciously want. So for a guitar, we could search, let's just use Ableton. I would usually use Contact for a guitar sound, but I'm just going to go for an Ableton guitar. Because they don't sound great, do they? They don't sound great at all. So I'm going to use that and try and make it sound great. So what I'm going to do is just create a repeating arpeggio to lock in that key, probably on the 16th. Let's just unmute all that. Let's put it down. That's kind of cool. Nice. And that should work. This isn't what I'm intending it for, but it should work under the rest of the chords as well. Yes, it does still work. Let's make that room reverb a bit longer. That's cool. Okay, what I'm going to do to make the guitar better is just kind of grunge it up a bit with some distortion or some saturation, just to make it sound a bit more electric, I guess. Just to add a little bit of dirt to it. And then do some EQing, get rid of some of those frequencies. And I'm going to add some stereo width to it with a bit of a delay as well. And we'll just add some ping pong delay, 16ths I think, and then so you've got this kind of cool effect there. Add some room reverb. Now, I'm just going to start vibing if I keep doing that. Okay, next thing we need to do, and don't forget you can download this project, all the presets and samples, we're going to get to the distorto bass. But first, let's get the drop working. Let's work on the drop and then we're going to go into the build and the break. So first, let's copy everything over here. This is where our drop's going to be. And our drop isn't going to have the chords playing in that particular sound. I can now get rid of the melody because we've already got that in the other instruments. And then what we can do is create a sound for this chord as well, like so. Instead of a piano though, which we could have, say for the break, what I'm going to do is just create my own kind of string sound. And again, I'll use Serum because I'm already using it. But I just want to create something really rich and sustained like this. And I want the pitch to vary slightly, so I'm going to add an LFO to the pitch. Not that much though. And this just gives it a bit of an organic character to it. Oh, I've got something to show you that's going to sound incredible when I work on that. First, we want to create something that sounds a bit more gelled together in terms of the chords we're hitting. So I'm going to experiment with what's known as chord inversions, and that just means reordering the notes within that chord. So I can just drop this down an octave. So it's still the same notes within the chord, it's just this one here is now on a lower octave. So you'll notice it's bringing all the notes closer together in the vertical sense on the keyboard. So I can take this one up and that one here, and now it's going to sound like this. So it just makes it sound a bit more kind of gelled together. You don't have to do that. It's just something worth experimenting with. So I want to make this sound even richer. So what I'm going to do is create one more layer, an octave below, again with some unison, try a different shape. Oh, now this, when the bass comes in, let's add some reverb. Ready? This is going to be in the break. And I want a filter on this as well. So this will be in the break. Okay, now I feel we've got something that we can use in the break. But remember, we're working on the drop now. So there's one more very important drum sound we need, and that is absolutely essential for this style of music. And that is a cymbal crash hitting on every kick. Again, that's going to give it that hands in the air feel. So let's get a cymbal splash. And the cymbal splash you choose is really important. Some of it's going to be trial and error. So what I like to do is use the hot swap technique. I'll get a cymbal in there. I'll program it in, and then I'll switch it out for different ones until I find one that I like. So I've just programmed it in for every kick, like so. And we don't want it to play all the way through. We only want it to be playing one cymbal at a time. Otherwise, it's very quickly going to get very messy. So it should sound something like this with the kick and the drums. Let's turn the clap off for a sec. Something like that. That's a nice one, I like that. Now what I want to do is add some EQ to it, whoops, just to the cymbal, to make it really sizzly. Like that. This is really going to bring a lot of the high-end energy to this style of music. And then what I also want to do is add some movement in the stereo field. So what I'm going to do is get an auto pan on there, and I'm going to sync it to the tempo of the track, and then with every beat it's just going to cycle through once. Is that right? Am I doing it right? So you can hear it's panning now. It's just going to really fill out that sound. So the drop is going to be something like this. We need to get a sidechain compressor on the bass again, on the chords, on the melody, boom. And I'm just going to tweak the levels a bit as well. We don't need the guitar yet, although that will have a sidechain compressor on it, so I'll stick one there too. So the drop is going to be something like this. Woo! Now we're getting somewhere. But the bass is in need of some growl. And I said I wanted to show you this bass trick earlier. So that's what I'm going to show you now. I want to create a bass that's even warmer and moving more. So if we call this one sub bass, this one's going to be our mid bass. And check this out. I'm now going to make sure that it doesn't fight with our sub bass. So I'm going to put an EQ. I'm just using the same simple saw wave sound. You know, you can do that in any synth whatsoever. But it's just the mids I want now. And the reason I want them is so I can do this to them. I'm going to use an amp. I love the amp, it's so good. And I'm going to add some unison. So we can have stereo width in any frequencies. Really, you have to be careful under 100 Hertz. You can still have stereo images down there, but then you can run into phasing issues, so you have to check it all in mono. We show you how to do that when we're going through our live lessons in the accelerator, but generally speaking, if you keep everything under 100 Hertz in mono, you should be good. But now we're over 100 Hertz, so check this out. Let's put this into dual mode. I'm already absolutely feeling that. Check our bass line now. This is how it was before. In fact, let's take out the... So this is where it was before. Ah, boring, rubbish. Absolutely mind-blowing. So this is going to fill up the low mids, which is going to help our drops sound even warmer. So I'm just going to feed this in underneath everything else. Oh, right, now let's get on to the vocals. We've got to get something that really works with that, and we're going to use the vocals whilst we're building the build and the break as well. So, if this is our low pass filter for our chords, lovely. On the drop, they're like this. When we start our build, or when we start our break, let's start it here, I think. Actually, let's start it here. We'll start it with the guitar. Like so. Let's copy that. We don't even need it on the drop. So now we've got this kind of effect. And our chords are going to start filtered right down. It's all about tension and release. So we have to have the A and B sections so we can create contrast to have those huge hands in the air moments. If you don't have the moments of relaxation, then you can't have the moments of extreme excitement. I'm going to do something more with this guitars to make it sound incredible. Oh, sorry, our bass is going to go in there as well, but just much quieter. So it's going to come in here. Because we don't want to shoot our bolt too early, as it were. God. We need to keep all the sub bass power for the drop. Dun dun dun. Now I can imagine like a dun 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 piano riff. But what we're going to do, oh, I might add that. Who cares? I'm actually really enjoying myself. So let me know if you're enjoying it too. Give me a hell yeah or an amen, brother, if you're feeling holy. And let me know what you want me to cover on the channel in the comments. Thank you, and download this project. So I'm going to extend that out so we can have the big break, because I really want to work on this build. Now we're going to add some vocals, and it's going to make all the difference. You need those emotional vocals here. In fact, we could do the opposite with that, couldn't we? Like that. Okay, let's automate the volume of the bass down. Again, we need to leave that in our back pocket for the drop. That's a much better way of putting it, isn't it? Leave it in our back pocket rather than shooting our bolt too soon. Oh my God. Right, here we go. Now, how do I get the vocals? Well, I'm going to use Splice because why not? There are great vocals on there, but just be aware, if you are using Splice vocals, a lot of labels won't want to release tracks with Splice vocals because everyone has them. So you can produce with them as a placeholder, and then you can just commission a singer on a website like soundbetter.com, and then you can replace them with your own original vocals. So what I'm going to do is just listen through that loop and check out a couple of vocals whilst it plays through. Right, come on, vocal me, baby. I'm going to go for male vocals for this kind of music. I'm not going to worry about the tempo, but I will worry about the key. Instant. No, mate, no.
There's an empty space left inside my heart.
Emotions.
When you left me, Like an empty frame or missing puzzle parts, feeling heavy.
That's the vibe.
As time goes and passes
Yes, I'll have you, son.
I find new ways to calm me down. A cloud filled with silver.
What's this build up?
linings will guide the way. Live a life, live a life.
All right, calm down, mate.
Live a life,
What's the chorus like?
live a life, live a life.
Do 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 dum dum.
Try to live without you. Try
Yes.
to live without. Try to live without you.
Okay.
'Cause I don't wanna live a life without you.
I get it. I get it. I get that a lot, in fact. So don't feel bad about it, mate. Right, I'm going to just use those two vocals because I think they sound great. So I'm going to go vocals, pink, the natural colour of the human throat, and I'm going to get those vocals in there. Firstly, we'll start off before he gets too ahead of himself, gets too excited. So let's start there. So we'll take the guitar down. Okay, automation, boom, let's get it done. Come on. So our break starts like this. Everyone's going, I've just had a nice big climax. Now we're in the down bit. All right, let's warp this correctly, 128.
There's an empty space left when you left me. Like an empty frame or missing puzzle parts, feeling heavy. As time goes and passes by, I find new ways to calm me down. A cloud filled with silver linings will guide the way. Only I can save me now.
Yes, yes, right. I might not use all of that, but this is the moment. This is the moment that we've all been waiting for. This is where it all comes together. This is where the road meets the tarmac, or the rubber meets the road, whatever. And then we're going to bring this in there as well. This is the hook. 128 BPM, Complex Pro. Let's see what hook you got for us, my excitable little chum. Because this is where we're going to use another key tenet of this style of music, and actually lots of music, which is we're going to hint at our main melody. This is going to get people hyped, it's going to get them excited, right? So let's just go through this and kind of arrange as we go with this, although I still need to do the build up, which you absolutely have to see. So let's see how this goes first.
I can save me now. Try to live without you. Try to live without. Try to live without you. 'Cause I don't wanna live a life without you.
Okay. Right, so what we're going to do is we're going to hint at the melody, but I might do it a bit sooner because I'm not sure how this is going to work out in terms of arrangement. And to do that, we are going to add a filter. So same thing as before, as with the other sounds. Let's get the filter on there. We're going to go through all these hidden points, and I want to check you. I'll be checking you on them in a couple of minutes when we listen to the finished thing. So we're going to take our melody down and just introduce it like this.
Time goes and passes.
And we even might just take out the highest one, so it's just hinting at.
Time goes and passes by. I find new ways to calm me down. The cloud filled with silver linings will guide the way. Only I can save me now. Try to live without you. Try to live without. Try to live without you. 'Cause I don't wanna live a life without.
Oh yes! So that is as the doctor ordered. This is going to be our drop now, okay? Boom. But we're going to have to create some kind of tension so we can then release it. which is going to be absolutely essential. That's going to be the drop. Mate is happy. He's had a good old sing-song, so that's good. But I'm going to duck his vocal on the drop just so we can have that massive hit. And the way we're going to do that first is by washing out some of that melody as we hit. And the way I'll do that, I'm just going to use my my washout transition effect, EDM tips transition. I'm just going to stick that on there, and there's one control, bit like End the Smile. Woo! It's too loud, so we're going to have to turn the volume down because I'm actually going deaf. So let's automate the volume as well. It was all getting too loud anyway, really. I think it's probably because I've turned my headphones up too loud. Boom, and then it's off. Lovely. So we've got that build up. And now we need the drums on the build up as well. And the final thing for the build up, which is going to be the effects. But they are, again, really important for this style of music. Boom. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to do a Calvin Harris style laser thing. Lazer Build. How am I going to do this? I'm going to get a sampler for this. Show you something a bit different. And I'm just going to get a random synth sample. Sometimes using samples just adds a different texture, you know, to a sound. So I'll go to synth. Oh, no. Yeah, why not? Like, you think that sounds rubbish, and you're right, but I'm going to show you how to make it sound absolutely amazing, so your mind gets literally blown. So you have been warned. Let's just see how that sounds at the moment. I'm just looping it, by the way, so we've got a bit more time to play with. So it's creating a loop, like so. First thing I'm going to do is program that in on the root note of the track, on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, on the 8s. So, and we are in C minor, aren't we? So every 8th, I'll leave a little gap in between each one. So I'll program them on the 16ths, and they're a bit longer, so they're not quite a whole 8th each. Not quite a whole 8th each. So it sounds like this at the moment. So this is how you make them not absolutely rubbish. Let's just kind of tighten those up a little bit more. And I'm also going to play with shaping this. So that's the first thing I'm going to do. So that's the first thing we're going to do, shape the amp. Now I'm going to shape the pitch. And this is the really fun bit. So we've got pitch envelope here. Brilliant. Well done, Will. So we're basically going to go for that effect. Can I actually automate that? I can. Let's just automate that then. That wasn't what I was going to do at all, but it is what I'm going to do now. Sometimes experimenting is just, that's where the fun happens, you know, that's where the magic happens. Actually, let's start 12 up, so we're still getting some of that. Right, now watch what happens when I add a delay on that. Ping pong delay. It's simple. See how simple that was? And now we get this kind of effect. 16ths, I think. Da, 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 da. Basically something like that. So let's just make that really quick. Let's do that. Whoops. And I'm going to increase the feedback as well, so it bleeds out. So we've created our own riser from scratch. And then that bounces on the drop. And last thing we need to do for this build is the risers and the, well, we've just done a riser, but we want the drums. So for the drums, I can just, let's just play the clap on its own, see if that works. Let's get rid of those crash, get rid of the open hat. Boom, 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 boom. Oh, and there you go. Right, I'm going to run through the 5 tenets that we've covered, the 5 secrets of making this progressive house Martin Garrix third-party style. And I want you to let me know if you've got them in the notes before we go each of them, and then I'm going to play the final result in a few seconds, okay? So the first is an emotional chord progression and melody. Absolutely essential. If you're not feeling it, no one else is going to feel it. Don't worry about the sound design and stuff. Get something that makes you get the feels first. If you can play it on a piano or just a guitar or just hum it along, awesome. That's what you're looking for. Number 2, strip back drums for space. We've got like 4 drums in the whole track, apart from builds, and we'll add some little interludes, which you can again download in the project file. I'll do a bit more work on it. And that's to allow space for the really important stuff like the vocals and the synths, and to get a really big mix with those huge synths and reverb, not from cluttering it up with loads of drums. Number 3, very intentional layering. So every layer of your main saw wave melody or your chords has to be there for a specific reason. Don't just chuck it there and whack the volume up, because it ain't going to work in the final mix. And number 4 is A-B sections for contrast. So we can start off the track by hinting at the key. So for instance, the track could start like this. And the guitar's already telling you which key it's in, which actually is the next one anyway. So A-B sections, and number 5 is hinting at the key. Now, I'm going to play the final thing in a few seconds, but after that, if you want to see how I made this and how I can produce in any genre pretty quickly within like an hour, I'm going to put a video for you at the end that's an absolute must-watch. So let's listen to the final result in 3, 2, 1, boom! What I've done here is just take a little bit of the vocal and repeat it to make that vocal atmosphere. And you can download this project file like this. Let me move into the break. You can download this project file using the link below. We filter up the chords.
There's an empty space left inside my heart when you left me, like an empty frame of missing puzzle parts, feeling heavy.
Into the melody.
As time goes and passes by, I find new ways to calm me down. A cloud filled with silver linings will guide the way. Only I can save me now. Try to live without you. Try to live without. Try to live without you. 'Cause I don't wanna live a life without you.
Yes. There we go. Hope you enjoyed that. Don't forget, if you want to see how I built this and how I make tracks in different genres every day of the week, then you can check out the video that I'm putting right there. This is the backbone of how we teach people to achieve the insane results that they do within our music production accelerator, because we couple it with the feedback, the live group calls where they can ask us any questions, and we help them into the industry as well. And it all starts with this technique right here that I'm going to show you. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you over at that next video.